vision that the book would not be destroyed as I had planned. It continued falling into that starry expanse of which I had only a fleeting glimpse. I've tried to speculate where it might have landed, but I must admit that such conjecture is futile. Still, questions about whose hands might one day hold my Myst book are unsettling to me. I know my apprehensions might never be allayed, and so I close, realizing that perhaps the ending has not yet been written.
Hey everybody, D-Mark here. Welcome to Myst, or more aptly named realMYST. Myst was originally developed back in 1993 by the company called Cyan, by brothers Robin and Rand Miller. It was originally released back on Mac and has since seen further releases on PC and various consoles to date. It is kind of a genre-defining game. Point-and-click adventure puzzle game to no end, and it was literally the best-selling PC game, period, from the time it was released until 2002, and then got beat out by The Sims, of all things. Anyway, this re-released, remastered version called realMYST, realMYST was originally released back in 2000, is a real-time version of Myst instead of a screen-by-screen, almost PowerPoint presentation-esque game. So real-time 3D fluid movements. This is a remake of the 2000 version, which is much better made and functions a heck of a lot better than it did in its time. So, let's get to it. So for those of you who don't know or haven't read the Myst novelized books, the kind of premise of this game is based on the theory of an infinite universe. Infinite universe is literally infinite, which means any possibility of anything can or is out there. Think of a million monkeys with typewriters eventually typing out the work of Shakespeare, because eventually in a literal infinite time span, or infinite universe in this case, anything is possible. And so there are these books, or linking books here. The game doesn't go too much into detail behind how they really work, but there are these linking books that link you to one of these possibilities out in the infinite universe. And so we're going to head into this one island here, the island of Myst. Alright, so I'm going to kind of start off here with some kind of general game mechanics, differences between the original Myst versus this new one. So right now we're just going to start with this classic Myst style. For those of you who are familiar with the game, you'll easily pick it up and be able to run with it. For those of you who are not, I'll kind of tell you how it used to be, and then we'll move on to the free roam to see kind of how things have changed. So we've also got these extra options and a flashlight, which is kind of a new addition to the game here. And I'll show you how that works. So you start here on this little dock, you've got your mouse cursor, and you can see as I move it to the left and to the right of the screen, it changes to a pointer. So when you want to move right, you click there, and it turns right. Move right again, turns right. Move right again, turns right. Exact same thing, moving in the other direction. When you want to move forward, just click forward and it takes you straight there. So back in the original Myst, let's say you wanted to move forward to this next node, as you want to call it, right up there. You see a screenshot here, and then you click forward, close your eyes, and open your eyes. This is where you would end up. So it's literally a frame by frame instead of this gradual, smooth transition from point A to point B. So this is kind of how this node-based version works. Let's jump into our options real quick. Forgive all the spoilers here, disregard those. We're going to head to our settings, switch it over to free roam, and this will allow us to look around in real time. I'm just going to jump over here to settings real quick. I recommend, if you have issues with it, disable the automatically adjust graphics quality. What this does is, throughout the game, depending on how the game is running, it will downgrade or increase the visible spectacle that is Myst. The graphics qualities, it'll increase or decrease depending on performance. But sometimes it'll get stuck in a low-grade mode even though it's running fine, as you'll see kind of the muddy textures and low graphics, etc. So I've just disabled that outright. I've enabled our max settings here. Going into advanced, you can see the more advanced stuff. I've got everything basically set to max. I turned off motion blur. It's just a personal preference of mine. Similarly, this focus effect, I prefer having it off. Feel free to play around with those options as you see fit and use whatever works best for you. Anyway, so those are our settings. I'll get to this flashlight and this question mark here in a bit. But now that we are in free roam, you notice the mouse cursor moving to either side does not present you with the turn right or turn left mouse icon. And instead, using the typical WASD key setup, you can move in real time. In order to turn, however, so you notice I'm standing still, the mouse moves around. The minute you start walking and moving the mouse, it moves around for you. So it's a little disorienting, because the only way to move your mouse to begin with is when you're walking. So let's say you stop walking, the mouse immediately becomes yours. But let's say you just want to look around in place. You then have to hold right-click and drag around, and then you can kind of see. But even still, it's a little jarring. But it takes a little getting used to, but it's not terribly difficult. So let's just get on with the game here. These little things, we don't exactly know what they are yet. You can turn them on and off, and we're just going to turn them on. There are several of those scattered around the island, and we'll find out what they are here shortly. So I'm just going to head up here to these large, massive gears. We have another one of these switches. Turn it on. Kind of get a better view of the dock that we were at with that sunken ship. Another thing this game added is running. So you hold shift, picks up your speed. Very, very handy. Another thing that's nice is in the original game, again, let's say you came down these stairs and you wanted to get back to the dock. You'd have to go all the way over here, down the stairs, and then come around. In this version, boop. Very simple. Again, real-time 3D, you can't exactly go up the same way just because it's difficult to go uphill, but you see where I'm getting at. So we have our first clue here. Catherine, I've left for you a message of utmost importance in our forechamber beside the dock. Enter the number of marker switches on this island into the imager to retrieve the message. Yours, Atris. So we have somebody named Atris addressing somebody named Catherine. Talking about these marker switches into the imager, which is located in the forechamber beside the dock. So let's go take a look at that. Actually, backtrack. We're just going to go to all these little things. These are the map markers he's talking about. We're just going to go turn them all on. So one thing about realMYST is that back when it came out in 2000, it was very, 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 very slow and a little bug-ridden, to be honest, on a lot of PCs, mine included when I first picked it up back then. And was really very difficult to play. I actually wasn't able to complete the game because of it, unfortunately. But since its original release back in 2000, literally just days ago, they have re-released, actually, it seems like recoded it from nearly scratch, in the Unity engine. Just a sidetrack here. So, we've got a marker switch over there, we can't get to it yet, but if you're paying attention, that right there is our last marker, and that makes 8 marker switches. So let's head back to that 4-chamber that we saw, and have yet to enter. Anyway, as I was saying, again, they just re-released this a few days back on the Unity engine, and it looks and works a heck of a lot better than it did back then. It also has a real-time day-night system in case you weren't aware, so it's kind of cool having different times. Anyway, one of the downsides, as you've already seen a couple times in the video here, is there will be times when I'm just moving around and then it stops, and then I'm halfway across the screen, and it kind of jumps around, so it's a little disorienting. This game admittedly could definitely use some optimization. Absolutely use some optimization, because as nice as it may look, compared to the standards of today, it's not nearly as pretty as a lot of the kind of AAA blockbuster hits would be, and it's definitely not pushing my system by any means, but it's running very, very muddy compared to what you'd think it should be. Right now I'm getting about 30 frames a second. It jumps between 30 and anywhere from 15 to 60, actually, depending on where you are. It doesn't make the game unplayable, but definitely could use some work. Anyway, one thing I want to show you, we're kind of in a dark passage here. I mentioned the advent of a flashlight. So, depending on where you are in the game, this can be very, very handy. Sometimes you'll get up against a wall, and it's just blinding because it gets oversaturated and over bright. But for the times, there's a couple times. See, that's one of those jumps I mentioned, completely disorienting and moves me around. Anyway, it can be very, very helpful in some dark areas of the game. So here we are in the 4-chamber. I just want to compliment Robin Miller here. He is the one responsible for the soundtrack to this game, which is excellent. So thank you, Robin, for that. So right now we're looking at this kind of little projector type thing, and all it's showing us is this kind of liquid water movement. Let's head over here. The settings, the dimensional imager. So we've got the topographical extrusion test, which is number 40, the marker switch diagram, 47, and the water turbulent pool, 67. Let's push our button. So we see it's already set to 67, which is the water turbulent pool that we just saw over there. Let's go ahead, whoops, got a little button happy here. Set it to 40. So you see the water pool turned off. And now we have just this little 3D topographical image. Really serves no real purpose. Let's see what the marker switch diagram does. So just this diagram of the map markers. Now we kind of officially know what they are, so to speak. So that note from Atris told us to enter the number of the marker switch diagrams, or the marker switches, into this. So we had 8 marker switches.
Catherine, my love, I have to leave quickly. Something terrible has happened. It's hard for me to believe. Most of my books have been destroyed. Catherine, it's one of our sons. I suspect Agonar, but I shouldn't leap to conclusions. I'll find him and Cirrus as well. Oh, I should have known better than to have left my library unchecked for so long. Well, I've removed the remaining undamaged books from the library and placed them in their places of protection. You shouldn't have to use the books until I return, but if you've forgotten the access keys, remember the tower rotation. Oh, and don't worry, Catherine, everything will be fine. I'll see you shortly. Oh, and erase this message after you've viewed it, just to be safe.
Okay, so we gathered a few things from that message. First of all being, that is presumably Atris speaking to Catherine, his love, wife, whatever you want to call that. And most of his books have been destroyed. He suspects his son, Achenar, but possibly might be his other son, Cirrus. He's gonna question them, but in the meantime, he has taken the remaining books and placed them in the sacred places. I don't remember what he said. In the safe places. And he also said that if you don't remember the access keys, remember the tower rotation. Tower rotation becomes very important as you make your way through this game. So we're going to head into this. This is kind of your home base, so to speak, of this game. This is the library that he mentioned. You can kind of see on his bookshelf, as he mentioned. Vast majority of his books have been burnt and destroyed. Taking a step back for a moment, again, the original Myst came out in 1993. Long time ago. The textures that they use for this and a lot of the videos that they use for this are still from the original rendition of Myst. Even though this is the new kind of remade one, they would literally have to remake a heck of a lot of textures and rehire actors or re-record video in order to redo some of this stuff. I think they likely could have done a better job at this, but the videos, I understand why they didn't, because that's a lot of precious time and money and hiring actors to redo that stuff. Anyway, back to the game at hand. So we got a bunch of burnt books. You see we have a few that are not fully burnt. We've got this one over here that looks burnt, but it's got kind of a symbol on here. And this is filled with just page after page after page of just grid dots. Have no idea what these have to do with anything. So, toss it back on the shelf. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys this book here. This is what we're going to start with, the Stone Ship Age. You can barely read the title of it here on the spine. The others, Channelwood, the Selenitic Age of Myst, and then down here you can barely see it, it's the Mechanical Age. This one here doesn't have a title on it, but we'll get there anyway. We're going to start with the Stone Ship Age. So I'm not going to read word for word all these books, I'll just kind of paraphrase what's going on. I will stop at each of the pages, so in case you want to, you can pause the video and watch it there. Anyway, so this age entails this kind of endless ocean with these clustering of craggy rocks out in the ocean. Atris finds himself there through the use of those linking books that we talked about earlier, and finds 2 boys, and eventually a third. And these boys are living on this rock in the middle of the ocean, just happy as can be. Atris befriends these boys and ends up helping them out. They end up making a lighthouse on this rock, and Atris also ends up making a boat for them. Now the boat, through whatever circumstance, when it is materialized, he makes this through the art, as you'll learn about here in a while. he makes this boat through the art, and yeah, for whatever reason, it kind of materializes inside the rock and is split in two. So this boat is kind of stuck onto this rock. Yeah, so here's the lighthouse that they made. And here's the boat kind of sticking out of the rock. Doesn't matter, they can't float on it or travel with it, but they kind of made it their home. Anyway, so Atris leaves this place for a while and came back a long time later, and some of the people that were there were still there, but others had left and others had come. So as you see, it had been 10 years, so he left for 10 years and then came back. Different people, some of the same people, but overall changed. When he first arrived, kind of to backtrack, the place was very, very sunny, and his arrival, for whatever reason, made it rain. Nobody knows why. Shortly after he left, it stopped raining, and it got sunny again. And one thing that Atris goes on to mention is that the stars there had lots and lots and lots of cool constellations that he made note of. So this is the first point in this game where you really want to take out your pen and paper and write stuff down. This is back during those good old days of writing stuff down and keeping track, because the game's not going to hold your hand with that. So he's got several constellations, and he's done little interpretation drawings as to what he thinks these look like. A beetle here, a little Cyan arrow, what looks like a flamingo almost, and a leaf. So I've already done my homework here. I already have these symbols written down. Again, we don't know really what they're in relation to, just that these are the ones that he's seen. So we're done with the Stone Ship Age book. Now I'm sure you're asking, well, what are these other books? Let's find out. So it looks to be a linking book, this blue book, but it doesn't actually do anything. We've got this blue page, and we've got this kind of hinter arrow saying, hey, put me here. So let's put the blue page on the blue book. Something obviously changed. Let's find out.
Serious? Are you? See you. You know. Help me. Bring me blue pages. Never, never. Pages. I must have the blue page. Bring them to me.
Okay, so we have somebody here who is obviously mentally disturbed. He wants blue pages, whatever that means. And he's in a book. Moving along. Red book. Same thing, just static. But with the addition of a red page.
Bring me a red page. I can't see. I need a red page, you must. Bring. Shh. Somebody help me.
So another guy trapped inside of a red book who wants red pages. If you heard, he addressed himself as Cirrus, which is one of Atris's sons. So presumably, Blue Boy over here was Akinar. We don't really know what to do with those, but we'll find out. There's one of those jumps again. So again, we got a couple pictures here. This is a picture of this right here, the door that we're looking at. It doesn't do anything. Then we have a picture of what looks to be a bookshelf. Changes the bookshelf into a walkway. Now, before I go in there, I'm going to look at this. So, tower rotation. If you heeded Atris's warning about, or recommendation to remember the tower rotation, you see this stops at several key locations across the map. So, for our purposes here, again, we're going to start with the stone ship age. I'm going to stop it right here on our sunken ship over on the dock. Now once we have our location set, we can head through here, and we're in this big elevator chamber. Just to kind of show you, nothing back here at all. This is kind of an automatic disorienting thing. One thing that's always kind of bugged me about this game is that just pushing the button won't make you go up. You have to actually close the door and then push the button. I don't know. Small, stupid, nitpicky thing, but it kind of bugs me. Anyway, we've got this ladder in front of us here with the book. Let's head up. And you can see outside we're pointed right in the direction of our sunken ship out on the dock. So we've got our tower rotation set properly. But what does looking out at the dock do for us? Nothing. If you go behind the elevator at the top here, we have another ladder with a key. And we have a series of 3 dates and times. Again, pull out your pad of paper, write these down. I've already done the liberty. So coming to that key is, again, a very important mechanic of this game. Otherwise, for most of these puzzles that you come across on the Myst Island proper, you'll have no idea what you're doing at all. Okay, so now that we have those dates and times, we need to know what in the world they do. As you see, our door is now blocked. But we can push the door button. Closes the bookshelf, and opens up our door. So now we're back outside. So we're going to head into this little observatory, as I call it. And we've got this funky little dentist chair. To actually use this properly, we are going to turn off the lights. And sit down. Drag this. Nope, don't stand up. Okay, fine. We'll stand up. Go back down. Okay, so drag this down. And we have a date, some dials, and a little viewport to a constellation. So what we want to do here is to enter in the dates in question that we got from that tower. So we were at October 11th, 1984. You see these numbers go wildly high, so careful when you're scrolling through. It can go pretty fast. At 10:04 a.m. Okay, so once you have your date and time set, you push our little flashing button. We scroll across the night sky, and we find ourselves with a constellation. Now again, if you wrote down the symbols, or if you happen to remember, this constellation is that of the leaf that Atris wrote down. So, you then write down, okay, leaf, got it. What's next? You move on to your next date. So we got January 17th, 1207. That doesn't work. It's so sensitive here, don't want to go too far. 1207 at 5:46 a.m. Okay, got our next date, hit the green button. Okay, we've got another constellation, and this time you'll recognize this symbol as the snake that Atris drew. So once again we write down snake, and we move on to our third and final date, which is November 23rd, 9791. 9791 at 6:57 p.m. Okay, and we have our third constellation. This one looks like a beetle. Or, it is the beetle that Atris drew. So we write down beetle, and we're done with this little area. So we're going to slide that back up. Get out of the chair. You can kind of look up and see this nice little star field effect. Kind of like that. Open up our door, and head outside. So if you hadn't noticed before, we're starting to get our kind of real-time day set and weather mechanic. We've kind of got an overcast late afternoon, early evening going on right now. Can't quite see a sun anywhere. Anyways, on to gameplay itself. So if you hadn't noticed before, we've got all these different symbols, just like what Atris wrote down. So now that we have symbols in question that we want, we're going to go ahead and push those. So we got leaf. We also have a conveniently placed boat in water. Leaf. Beetle. And snake. So you notice two things just happened. Our boat representation here lifted up out of the water, and we also see the boat on the dock is now out of the water. Now, in the original game, again, this being a screenshot-by-screenshot game, you would push that last button and you'd hear that noise happen, and you'd be and you'd be sitting here staring at the snake while something happens behind you. You don't know what it is. And then you move 90 degrees, and then we move 90 degrees, and you see the boat sitting out of the water here, and you look at it, and you think, oh, what's going on? And then you have to travel all the way down to the dock. Then you're like, oh, okay, boat's out of the water now. So I kind of like the idea that you can actually see what's coming now. So let's walk down, cross over onto the boat here, and there's really nothing of note on the boat itself. But there is something. Come on, there we go. Down here. And we have a book. A linking book. So I am actually going to call the episode right here. I think this is a good stopping point for us to pick up come next time. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I completely forgotten my intro, but I wanted to say one of the reasons I'm doing this this Let's Play is the original team, Cyan, who did this game, and Ribbon and Myst 5 as well, are just successfully funded their Kickstarter for their new game, Abduction. Not abduction like alien abduction, but O-B, obduction. They're working on a new point-and-click adventure game in the Unreal 4 engine, which looks gorgeous. What little we've seen, that is. It's slated to arrive come 2015, and so I felt this was a good homage to them, and I wanted to kind of get prepared and get ready for Abduction to come out. Anyway, as always, thank you guys very much for watching. Subscribe and like is very appreciated, and yeah, I will see you next time. Take it easy. Bye.